jobs are not lost to technology. Jobs are lost to recessions, and then they don't come back because of technology. If you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so we really want to solve climate change with software. Climate change is not a software problem. Climate change is a material science problem, a policy problem, and a capital problem. There's tremendous investments by the large language models. They are the equivalent of the telco providers. They are spending all the money for the training. They hope to capture all the value. They might not.
And they're establishing the infrastructure.
And they will overbuild. We always overbuild.
Hey everyone, I'm Malak Fuad, and welcome again to What I Did Next from A&T Media. Every now and again, we have an Encore episode where we check in with some of your favorite alumni guests. Today, we're sitting down again with Ramy Adeeb, founder and managing partner of 1984 Ventures. When we last spoke in 2023, Ramy was focused on the tech sector in general. Today, everything he looks at has to be AI first.
There is a saying that is often attributed to, of all people, Vladimir Lenin, and we don't know if he said it or he didn't say it, that there are decades when nothing happens, but there are weeks when decades happen. And
Completely.
Right now, we're going through this period where decades are happening in weeks.
Yeah.
I think what has grabbed my attention is really trying to stay abreast of where the technology is today and what the capabilities allow us to do. What has also kept my attention is trying to find the signal from the noise. There is so much noise when a new technology comes from scratch. And eventually that noise subsides and the signal is what remains. But when you're going through this
That's a very interesting way of putting it. I have never heard of it that way. It's a really nice way to explain what we'll end up with. It's a signal, not the noise. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right now, it's really hard to distill the signal from the noise. And then last, it's just been really busy building the firm. We're investing out of our third fund now, building a team. We have 5 partners working actively on meeting those entrepreneurs. There's really 2 types of VC firms. There's like top tier and everybody else. And we want to make sure we're a top tier firm where every founders want to work with us. And it's ultimately a customer service business. One where you just continuously work for your founders. And then that compounds with time until you become a firm that everybody wants to work with.
And from the very beginning, Ramy, when you set up your VC firm, it was always tech focused. I remember that was very much your ethos at the time. But so today, your third fund, you're talking about your third fund. Obviously, it's AI heavy, I'm assuming, since that's where your attention is. So how have you kind of evolved from the first fund, the first years, into where you are now?
When we started the fund, we were mainly focused on software. Pure software, so good old what we call SaaS, software as a service. And we avoided all the hype trends. There was a very big hype trend with cryptocurrency, and we totally ignored that. We just stuck to our knitting and did software upending antiquated industries. Then there was Web 3.0, a lot of buzzwords, a lot of noise around how cryptocurrency meeting virtual reality would create these modalities. And it wasn't really It wasn't much. It was just a lot of noise.
And
then
that
AI
didn't
happened.
pan out in the end, right?
Yeah, it didn't pan out. We do get the credit of there's an article written about us in 2022, actually an interview from Fortune magazine where they're just actually featuring us as a fund that has always panned crypto. Because we were one of the very few funds that said no to crypto from day one. And they asked us, what are you doing? And it's just like, we're doing AI and other stuff.
What was the reason, Ramy? Why were you averse to crypto? It was so trendy. What was your gut feeling? I mean, why did you say no to that?
Because we are venture capital, we have a particular mode, right? Take technological risk early on a small teams of founders and hope that they build massive businesses that can then disrupt the incumbents. And we know how to do that with software. We know how to do that with consumer. We even could do that with hardware. Crypto was an entirely different asset class. It was like commodity trading.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do commodity trading.
Sure.
Right? It's not really commodity. It's a commodity meets gambling it's, and the way to make money in crypto, you don't need a venture capitalist. Just go pick a basket of coins and own it.
It was a different beast. Yeah.
It was a different beast. There is a almost folk, folk story about Steve Jobs. That when Steve Jobs created the very first Macintosh, and there was a there was a big event, like a gala, where he was demoing the computer. And
Mm.
all of these old folks would come by, seasoned, entrepreneurs, seasoned financiers. It was actually in New York City, and ask him, what is this? And he would talk to them for 2 minutes and they would leave. He would talk to them for 2 minutes and they would leave. And then an 8-year-old came to him and he spoke to him for 40 minutes. He spoke to the 8-year-old for 40 minutes. And then a journalist came to him and said, why is it that you spoke to the 8-year-old for 40 minutes and to all the old people for like a couple of minutes? And he goes, well, they all asked me, what is it? And then the little kid said, hey, what can I do with this? It's a really an important question where a lot of the folks who are really, endowed in finance and in politics and government ask, what is this? And then you say, it's like artificial intelligence. The real question is, what can I do with it? What are the applications? What does this unlock? And for crypto, the primary application, was a little bit of gambling plus evading capital controls, which is a real application. If you're in a country with a fastly deteriorating currency, you want to have access to these dollars. It's just not an application that, we're set out to solve. With the Web 3.0, it was really hard to see what the application is. But with AI, I mean, all it takes is just launching ChatGPT in your cell phone, uploading your medical record like everybody in my family does these days.
Yeah,
and
everyone's
speaking
doing
with it
that.
about it and realizing what the possibilities are. So those possibilities are endless. That's exciting. As an investor, though, as I mentioned, there's a lot of noise because we don't know at the end of AI who will capture value, who will come out ahead, what business models will be enduring, and what business models will die. And anyone who claims to like have an end state, like their guess is as good as mine.
Sure.
And objectively, the hardest part isn't predicting an end state. It's just helping founders navigate that transition while it's underway.
You're talking about that we are at an inflection point, we're about to be, where I think, this is my reading of it as a layperson, we could see a slight collapse in the industry of maybe extra weight or companies that are not performing. And then from that, you will get those diamond companies that will endure. It's the same with the internet. The system didn't end. We got rid of a lot of extra weight companies that were not functioning properly, but the industry went on to amazing things after that.
I couldn't have drawn a better analogy. Actually, I want to go back to the late 90s for a moment.
And it's very in vogue, by the way, now, Ramy, the 90s, huh?
It is a little bit in vogue. It's also, the style, the Reebok shoes are back in vogue again.
It's all back.
But there are two lessons from the 90s that I want to touch on. One around uncertainty, and the other around value capture. But let's start with the first one. I remember sitting in a panel at Harvard in 1999 that was called "Who Will Capture Value from the Internet?" Right? Who will capture value from the internet? And then we had three speakers. One was arguing that the telco providers, the companies that laid out the fiber, the internet in the ground, were the ones that would capture all the value. The second speaker was arguing that it would be the browsers, the Netscapes. And it made sense because at the time, Netscape and Microsoft were literally at the Supreme Court, at each other's throat, where Microsoft had bundled a free Internet Explorer into Windows operating system, and Netscape sued it for antitrust, and the thing went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the prevailing model for making money from software in 1999 was to pay money for somebody to install a piece of software in your computer. So if Netscape software was the gateway to this internet, it made sense that it would capture all the value. The third speaker, who was the least convincing, was arguing that it would be the content providers, the websites, the folks who actually ended up capturing all the value from the internet. But the reason it wasn't obvious is in 1999, you couldn't accept credit cards online. The only way to make money online was via display ads. Remember those long ads on Yahoo? And as a business, you could only make, you could only make maybe $5, $10 from a million ads. So how many ads will I possibly see in a month to make it worthwhile for businesses to make a lot of money? So the point of the story is when you are going through this technological inflection point, there is a tremendous investments by everybody. Today, there is a very similar analogy. There's tremendous investments by the large language models. They are the equivalent of the telco providers. They are spending all the money for the training. They hope to capture all the value. They might
And
not,
they're establishing the infrastructure.
but they're
Yeah.
establishing the infrastructure. And without them, we wouldn't have it. And they will overbuild. We always overbuild, right? No matter, just because the technology is here to last, doesn't mean we won't overbuild. Right? We always do. We overbuilt with the internet. We overbuilt. And so they will overbuild a little bit. Now, you can't, of course, time it, right? But they will overbuild. And then you have the folks who are actually providing the application layer. And then you have the incumbents, the people who have what we call the systems of record, the databases, the software, the large software companies that is used today. Which one of those three will capture value? Really unclear, right? Will it now for us though, as an early stage fund, what's exciting is we get to work with very small companies who don't have the innovator's dilemma of the existing incumbents, right? And who are very nimble. And so they are in a way part of writing the future in a sense. Many of them will fail, but the ones that succeed do end up capturing a lot of value, because that's what we see with every one of these technological inflection points is new startups are way more nimble, come in with fresh ideas, and are able to just rewrite the rule of the game. But as you navigate it, it is both exciting, it's thrilling, and it's obviously, especially for large tech, for big tech companies, it's very challenging times.
Yeah. What would you look back at the last couple of years and think of as you and the company's biggest achievements in the space you're working in?
I mean, I think the company's biggest achievements is when a business that was not built on AI has managed to transform itself to be an AI first business. We have a number of examples that have been very successful. I think most notably a company called PostHog, that is probably one of our better known businesses at 1984 Ventures, where they were the number one product analytics platform. The company started in 2020.
What do they
It was
do, Ramy?
They provide data and analytics for other software businesses to monitor and track how their products are used. But it includes everything from how many visitors came to my website, to session recordings, to running experiments, to attributing value. It's effectively the operating system for online
Interesting.
businesses, if you will. And it's a very
Wow.
successful, it's one of our, best known unicorns. It was not an AI company, right? It was started in 2020. And in 2020, beginning of 2020, end of 2024, we were having a lot of conversations with the founders, and they're starting to see AI. And in the beginning of 2025, just something lit in the mind of the founder, and he recognized we have to totally rebuild everything, rethink our business to first and foremost address AI. Every software company says we're AI, we're AI, we're AI. And what they do, you slap a chat interface on top of your existing product and you say, now we're AI. You're a chat interface, you can talk to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
AI means, it's actually funny because as a consumer, you have a really good instinct of what AI is. AI is Instagram or TikTok. Extreme personalization. Right? When you launch your Instagram, and not just because of the people you follow or your friends, just when you go to the videos, it knows you so intimately, it knows your interests, and it's able to tailor the feed to you. And your closest friend, your best friend, if you launch their Instagram, it's different. It's not the same. That level of extreme personalization is at the core of AI. Beyond just the personalization, we want like human-like one-to-one communication across every modality, whether it's voice, text, and soon video, right? And it's one-to-one communication, as in the AI knows who you are. When it talks to you based on your context and your insights and your data, right? And then last, we need to do all of that with like feedback, data loops, and infrastructures. And then now the product starts to look like an AI product. But to do that also, I need to transform my actual organization into being an AI organization. What's an AI organization? God, it's not like giving everybody access to Claude. Everybody's like, oh, hey, take access to Claude, or we give our businesses all access to ChatGPT. No, it's really about rethinking from the ground up what function should be done by humans and
Yeah.
what function should be done by machine.
How many companies that you're dealing with are seeing this future? Are some resisting? Are some trying to catch up? Are they already there? I mean, where have the challenges been for you?
So the biggest challenge is for an existing company with a lot of revenue. This is just a textbook example of the innovator's dilemma,
Yeah.
right? The innovator's dilemma, the old Clay Christensen case study around how companies don't fail because they're doing the wrong thing. They fail because they continue to do the right thing when it's no longer relevant, when it's no longer the
Yeah.
right thing. And that is sort of the irony. And so we started investing from Fund 1 in 2018, 2018 to 2021, Fund 2 is 2021 to 2024. I would say our Fund 1 companies and half our Fund 2 companies have had to adapt. But then investments starting from 2023 up until today, they're all AI native.
They're
They're
all
just all
AI
AI.
native. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ramy, you're if you're in this world, you're deep into it. You're looking at all these incredible, innovative companies, looking at the future. I'm sitting in Cairo, and I am not a tech savvy in terms of using AI. I'm just beginning to use it on a practical basis. But what I am doing is I've been educating myself a lot about it in terms of what it means for society, what it means for us as humans. I'm reading, I've been doing this for the last year and a half, and I'm beginning to get involved in events and panels where AI is obviously a huge focus. One of the big thinkers that I, latched onto, I think partly because he writes in a very simple manner for someone like me, who's not tech like you, is Mustafa Suleiman, who runs Microsoft AI. He did this incredible book in 2020 called The Coming Wave, which he's updated since then. Obviously, it's no longer coming. The wave is washing over us. It's look behind us. We're in it. We've swam deep into the sea. And what I like about him is he doesn't make it look like it's all going to come up roses. He doesn't make it look like it's all going to be positive. He really does address the scary side, and the need for containment, the need for regulation, the need for controlling this tool. And in my mind, I always try and separate this sort of big picture idea of where are we going, where will we be with this industry, and then of course drilling down like you do into practical what the companies are doing, how they're providing these incredible services and tools for us as people who want to be more productive, more creative, all of that. But I can't help feel really scared, Ramy. I'm really quite scared of what's coming. A good example, we had the Anthropic issue with the Ministry of Defense or Ministry of War, where Anthropic, being a private company, did what a state should do, and they said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell you this this software, this technology, if you're going to use it to surveil Americans, if you're going to use it for autonomous weaponry." So, I mean, people who know this world will know the issue. I'm not going to go into the issue. So that was one thing that a lot of people suddenly light bulb moment went off. The state was being the aggressor here and being the sort of the evil one, and the corporation was being the one trying to safeguard and protect people, which most of the time it's the opposite way around. And then, of course, we've got the war, which we're in now, where there's no doubt in my mind autonomous weaponry is being used with either no human supervision or the bare minimum supervision. How do you think of these issues?
There's many fears being talked about AI. There's sort of the existential fear of AI taking over the world. I think that might happen. I think there are fears around the use of AI surveillance and the use of AI at war. I think, I hate to say it, but the US is a laggard in that market. Right? China's leading the way. I think I was in Bahrain in 2019, in a conference where China was touting the face recognition software and sort of full government control software. They're obviously way ahead of us in drones. They're way ahead of us in the use of it. So like, just as somebody in the US, I'm not sure if we're really, I think if anything, we have some catch up to do. We really do have some catch up to do, right? In terms of
Yeah.
the future of the war. If you actually go back, like the US did not win World War II by having the most powerful weapons, right? It's actually the opposite. The US won World War II by having crazy strong supply chain and then building them faster than the Germans can sink them, right? That was the model. You're never going to build something as good as a T1 German tank, the T1 German tanks, just so much more advanced than we are. But we can build 6, right? And the same thing with boats. And if you ever come to the US, you go to there's in New Orleans, a Museum of World War II in New Orleans. It's incredible. And it tells a story about World War II and really emphasizes this was a supply chain war, a war won by taking Ford, which was the biggest automotive company, and saying, stop making cars and make airplanes. Shitty,
absolutely,
tiny little sinkable airplanes, literally like the Shahad drones.
and we just need a lot of them,
which is exactly what the Shahad drones are doing. Right? And then we're and the US is actually trying to copy the Shahad drones.
But just talking about this existential element for a minute, we're so deep into this new world now, and people have been talking about, we must regulate, we must control, we will. Hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. Governments are not going to get together and do some kind of agreements together. This is a race to the finish by big tech companies, and governments around the world have proven to be completely unable to manage their current issues, let alone what we're beginning to move into. So
no, it is. But I also, I liken it again to the nuclear race in the late 40s, early 50s. Right? Nobody was going to sit down and do a nuclear non-proliferation treaty. People were like, I got to get there first. I got to get there first.
But it's different, Ramy. It's different, because I thought of that as a good analogy. But the difference is that nuclear weapons was one form of tech and it had one use. AI is omni-tech. So it's available throughout everything we're going to be doing for the rest of our lives for the next forever. So how do you regulate something that's omni-use?
No,
you can't, Ramy, you can't.
I mean, look, you can count on the Europeans to overregulate it. You can count in, you can count in China to sort of
have the state deal with it.
State control it, not regulate it, but state control it. And then you can count in the US to like kind of slightly under-regulate, slightly over-regulate.
Fudge it. Yeah.
To kind of fudge it, right? I mean, it's basically where you're going to net out. But I want to go back to the employment for a moment.
Yes.
Because, like, will AI like destroy humanity as we know it? It's a possibility, but also that same, but that same applies to nuclear weapons. The same applies to chemical weapons. The same apply to many other things. It's definitely a threat. It's just a threat that we have to understand and deal with. But does AI has the potential to cause economic havoc in the next 5 years? In the next 5 years, not like the next 20 years.
Maybe
and I'm
even
sort of
less,
being very short-sighted.
For sure.
What?
Yeah.
It's huge. And a lot of folks, the counter argument to, and I really worry about this.
Yeah.
We have our entire world is built today around 2% inflation or 5% inflation, around economic growth, around prosperity. It's almost like a massive pyramid scheme.
And AI it's so precarious. One thing changes and the whole thing is wobbly.
A lot of folks, the counter argument to these concerns on unemployment is always like, oh, don't worry. The technology always creates new jobs. I'm sitting here scratching and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like when we switched from the horse carriages to the automotive, it's a classic story. Like, all the people that worked in the horse carriages, like loss of jobs, but then you got mechanics and drivers and yes, that took freaking 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It took 30 years, right? When women, when we switched from typing on a typewriter into using a computer, into a personal computer, people had to reskill. They had a 10-year to stop using, to stop using typewriter and learn how to use a word processor. I see developers today software engineers, people who should be at the forefront of using technology, who are struggling to use the most advanced AI coding, struggling to use it.
Yeah.
Because it changes their entire framework of how I write code. It changes their sense of self-worth. That previously, I was an engineer whose work was precious. Now I just tell Claude to do something and it
And
does
your
it for
work
me.
was in demand and needed.
I mean, it's really hilarious, but if I show you this, this is just my actual library. This isn't a point to, every book here is irrelevant. Like, this is something called, the Mythical Man Month. This was the ultimate book about software engineering in groups. Totally, totally irrelevant. This is a book in like compiler, modern compiler work. All of that knowledge is irrelevant.
It's gone out the window.
It's gone out the window, and it's shocking. And then you have to reskill, and that's a software engineer. And then reskill to a world. Now, will we want more software engineers? Sure, we probably will want more software to be built, and we will need more infrastructure and so forth. But I think about lawyers. I think about accountants. I think about brokers. I think about the entire source of the economy. And then I think of, and again, I think, frankly, we're fortunate in countries like Egypt where we haven't yet switched to a services economy. We're still a goods economy to some extent. And these are
still
way
a
more resilient to AI.
Pencil and paper economy. Yeah.
Pencil and paper economy, exactly. And a lot of people, and it's not the money isn't being made by lawyers and accountants, it's being made like from real estate and from food. So there's a chart from Anthropic that I really think is worth taking a look back at. And the chart lists every job and how much of it, is being, automated today, and how much we think we might be able to automate in the future, right? And at the top of this list, you see computer and math, right? Computer programming, 96% automatable, right? Business and finance, 94% automatable. Legal, 88% automatable. And then at the very bottom, you see agriculture, you see food and servicing, you see construction. And you can very quickly recognize, well, how much of my GDP comes from where? And instantly get an assessment of where this falls. And the more advanced the society, the bigger the challenge. Right? So we need to reskill, but we don't know what the new skills are. And we have to reskill very quickly.
So that brings me to a question for you, Ramy. So you met my children. Ali is one more year of university after this one. And he is, like all his friends, struggling to find internships, doesn't know if he's going to have a job at the end of this. What is he employable for? It's a real, real problem. My younger son is about to go to university in August. And, I'm thinking, what should he be studying? Should he be just if we're going to take it as a hypothetical, should he go more towards sciences or should he go more towards humanities? Or if he likes to read, should he become where should the weight be put for the future? If you were advising a young person today, what would you tell them?
I don't worry too much about the young folks, because this is a time where it's not the strongest survives, it's the fittest who survives. And they are going to be an AI native generation. Like they're already so much better at using ChatGPT.
They're already using it for everything. Yeah.
It's almost, sometimes can be a little creepy because they use it to ask questions about almost like a personal coach to them. What should they study? I really don't know. I really don't know. The signs favor increasingly like that human connection, human communication, sales, leadership.
The soft skills, basically, right?
The soft skills, or be a plumber, which in the US makes really good money.
Or work with your hands, right? Or work with your hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because robotics aren't there yet. But I want to talk, we keep touching on this point of, you mentioned they're very young. I think this is a lot less about age. And it's about a mindset. It's just the very classic biology. It's the fittest. It's not the strong, Darwin. It's the fittest who survives.
Yeah, right? I see that. I think
I might have shared this story when we got started with 1984. Right? Effectively, like the whole story, the whole journey started when I was having dinner with Sir Mohammed Mansour. Right, it was obviously Egyptian, and he was visiting Silicon Valley.
And let's remind the listeners, he was a big part of your beginnings and your foundation.
Exactly. So he's effectively a co-founder for us. When I had dinner with him, he said, "Ramy, I live in Egypt. I invested in Uber, and these small technology startups come and threaten my businesses. I want to go and see where they start, and I want to be part of their incubation instead of waiting in Egypt or in London or and then have them show up at my doorsteps knocking on my door.
Mhm.
And this is a guy who was 71 at the time. Like, he was 71 at
So
the
yeah,
time.
you're right. It's a mindset. It's not
So,
a
but his mindset is like, oh, there's this new thing.
yeah.
How can I
And
go be
I need to
part of
know
it?
about it.
Because so many of us are like, 30s and 40s, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Yeah, the world is changing. But there are folks whose mindset is, let me go understand what the new world is and let me go embrace it.
Mhm,
And it's a
mhm,
really
mhm,
important mindset today.
mhm. In terms of 1984, I want to ask you two questions. Remind me, why is it called 1984? Is it
Apple,
from the Orwell book?
no, it is not from the Orwell book. It's for the Apple commercial. Apple launched a commercial in
Yeah.
1984. When it launched the computer, the personal computer, the commercial was about tiny little sort of heroine fighting against Big Brother or Big Blue, which was IBM. Apple was a tiny little company fighting against IBM, which was the biggest tech. And that story of small tech going after big tech, it's the story that keeps repeating itself every day in our business. Today, our startups, well, who are they afraid of the most? OpenAI and Anthropic. They are the big tech,
That's
right?
really
And
interesting. I
our
like
job
that.
is to work with, and I'll share
So
with you
you're
the
helping
commercial
the
after.
little guy beat the big guy.
Exactly.
And drilling down a little bit, Ramy, into the fund, the current fund, are there sectors within AI that you're excited about, that you're putting money behind? Are you focused on biotech? Are you focused on medicine? Are you focused on climate? Are there areas that you think, um, there are clear winners for me in terms of, I mean, it's a no-brainer that AI helping in healthcare, medicine is a game changer. One
Uh,
of the alumni I've had on the show is this fantastically dynamic woman called Nadine Hashesh Haram. She's a Lebanese surgeon. She's based in the UK. She has a startup. I don't even think it's a startup anymore, called Proximi. And she, in the last couple of years, AI has completely transformed her business. They connect operating rooms around the world to surgeons to help do operations if they can't do them on site. And obviously, AI has had the most incredible positive impact on her business. So medicine for me obviously is a no-brainer, but how are you approaching it? What are the industries that you're excited about?
we're also excited about vertical AI in general, AI going after all these legacy industries, whether it's insurance or brokerage or recruiting and staffing, software engineering. There's a lot of industries that were previously almost untouchable by venture that are now becoming fair play because of AI.
Give me an example, Ramy.
Recruiting. HR tech was always like, you don't want to sell to HR teams, but now AI fully automates interviews.
Yes, Ali's doing a semester in London, and he had an AI led internship interview the other day. Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
phenomenal.
But then there are some other industries where I maybe am less excited. I think environment and being one and climate being one of them because I think sometimes as either venture capitalists or software engineers, uh, we if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and so we really want to solve climate change with software. Climate change is not a software problem. Climate change is a material science problem, a policy problem, and a capital problem. So
Agreed.
if you want to solve it, you can make money doing real research in material science and figure out a substrate, improving manufacturing. You can make money by building solar farms as a capital provider. You can go and work with policy and governments
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
technological innovation, but it's not software. People are like, I'm
Yeah,
going to build this software company that's going to do carbon emission measuring and marketplace. Like, how many of these can we have? It's not really a problem, right?
sure,
So
sure.
you want to make sure, but you look at healthcare. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
For the longest time, software in healthcare was about automating what's called pre-care coordination. Today, for the first time, we can automate clinical work, the actual work of diagnosis, right? Of bringing the data, analyzing it, communicating it to the patient, and working with them on a treatment plan.
Mm, mm,
That is
mm.
incredible. The real hurdles
Yeah.
today are regulatory,
Hmm. Hmm.
and structural around payment. And
Let's take a step back. I just want to drill down into your own kind of life a little bit. who would you consider to be someone that you find very influential or like a mentor figure to you today? Because I know that this changes over time.
Definitely, I used to work at Khosla Ventures, and it was founded by a well-known venture capitalist called Vinod Khosla, who was the very first investor in OpenAI. And Vinod has continued to be incredibly influential in the world of AI, and he embodies to a great extent what a venture capital should do. Right? He really lets, you know, uh, he's willing to imagine what things can become, invest in the potential of people and ideas, and not be bothered by what could go wrong. And that's how he was the first check in OpenAI. Right? And that's why he has many failures as well.
You have to be a risk taker, right?
You have to be a risk taker, right? Which is a topic we talked about a
And
lot last time.
we did. What's your appetite for risk these days?
Pretty high. You know,
Yeah.
for ideas, yeah, I think the obvious ideas are very competitive. Some of our best companies, like we're in a, AI interview is way ahead of its, like, just I'm willing to take risks on an idea that might or might not work.
But that also comes with experience, Ramy, I think, right? You're much more established now. You've been around the block. You've seen failures. You've seen successes. I guess your appetite for risk increases as well, I guess, when you are more experienced.
So it's an interesting question you're saying. I think it goes back to the mindset. There are folks who take less risk with time, and there are folks who take more risk with time. When I got started in this industry,
Mm.
I was working with a very, very, very seasoned older gentleman called Pierre Lamond, who is today 95, still alive. He was one of the founders of National Semiconductors. He was a VC at Sequoia for a long time, and he was at Khosla when I was there, and he was tasked with mentoring us. At the time, he was 80. He was the oldest person working in VC, and he still sometimes practices today. And I remember Pierre saying, if you learn from your mistakes in our industry, by the time you're 50, you're not going to be making a single investment.
Oh, interesting.
We should learn from mistakes, but learning
Yeah.
from mistakes is a really narrow subset that can preclude us
Yeah.
from having future
It
successes.
can make you risk averse. If you were to pick a different profession, let's just say, all this was taken away from you and you had like a hobby, or what would you do?
When I was really young, I wanted to be a pilot because I wanted to travel the world. And then when I saw more of the world, I realized I definitely didn't want to be a pilot. I want to get to enjoy the places I go to, not
Yeah.
just travel to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I fell in love with computers. I wanted to be an engineer to build things. But now I realize that building things is about doing a lot more than writing code. It's about building teams and building organizations and leading folks through doing things. So I'd want to be building something and breaking it every once in a while. I don't know what that
You
would
have
be.
a young son, right?
I have a 3.5-year-old son.
So are you playing Lego with him? Are you building blocks with him and things like that?
We're doing Lego. We're doing blocks. I had him I teaching him how to use a keyboard, which I think you're not supposed to have screen time, but I think computers are not screen time. I think cell phones are screen time in my mindset.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's really fun to see natural intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence in progress. It's
Absolutely.
incredible.
And see how quickly they learn at this age. They're like sponges. They just take it all in, right? It's incredible.
Yeah. And see also how they learn how to be manipulative. It's incredible. For a 3-year-old, you're like, wow. AI is getting there, but the humans are so much faster at it.
That's right. That's right. And what's a typical day for you, Ramy? You're still commuting between the East and West Coast?
I spend probably 3 weeks in New York, 1 week in San Francisco a month. I mean, New York and San Francisco are the two capitals of entrepreneurship. San Francisco
Yes.
is more important right now, and so I'm spending a lot of time in SF because
Right.
when you're going through this massive, rapid technological innovation, and our portfolio is about 2/3 SF, 1/3 New York. New York has a little better access to markets, though. So San Francisco has
Sure.
access to technologies. New York has access to ideas of where to implement them. And so you find the pure technologists building in SF, the more application level folks building in New York.
Interesting. What's a typical day for you? Does it vary depending on which part of the country you're in?
It's a lot of meetings. I wake up, my job is to make my wife coffee. My wife,
That's
she makes,
always a good job, Ramy. Keep
she's a
doing
good
that.
job. She makes breakfast for our son, but I need to make her coffee. Obviously, lots of joys, lots of cheesy LinkedIn posts about having children. um, effect on your professional career and life, but it certainly provides a wonderful reprieve from work, and a
I
healthy one.
agree.
And then work provides a great reprieve from them.
For
You know,
sure.
so there's a very
Because
symbiotic
kids are very
relation.
challenging, as we know.
Yeah, it's a very symbiotic relationship. But then I probably drop them off at 8, and then I start my probably from 8 to 9. I try to not schedule calls from 8 to 9, and leave that more maybe if I have a call with Europe,
Mhm.
or somewhere far from the US. But I typically spend that doing email, and then my calls start 9:30, go until 5:36.
Do you have any time for exercise and sort of unwinding, or does that not figure these days? I find it so important to clear my mind, you know?
I need to do more of it. I typically
Yeah.
swim twice a week.
Oh, that's nice. I love swimming as well. So, Rami, this was an amazing conversation, as usual. I always find our conversations very eye-opening and really this drilling down into subjects I find really inspiring. I want to end with what I call the quick fire round. And so this is like this really fun and light little segment.
Sounds good.
Ready?
Um,
All right. Online connectivity or offline anonymity?
Online anonymity.
Haha, good one. I didn't think of that. Okay. Favorite activity?
Sailing.
Where do you sail?
In San Francisco and in the Caribbean. So I've owned a small boat that I share with a couple of my friends for like 25 years, and I love sailing. It's an
And so you
incredible.
sail yourself. You
I
you've
sail
learned
myself.
how
Yeah,
to
yeah,
sail.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
So that's your
yeah.
downtime. That's how you switch off.
That is how I switch off, and you have to switch off
Yeah,
because you have to. There's a lot going on. There's
of course.
lines and ropes and
That's
sails and
really
traffic and fog and yeah.
that's such a nice activity, Rami.
But it's not an exercise.
Yeah. What's your least favorite activity?
Exercise. Going to the gym. I can't get myself to do it. I just can't go to the gym and like exercise without a purpose. I will work really hard. Like I love digging trails. And so I love to work hard with my hands. I love to swim. I love to build things. But to go to the gym and just lift weights or run on a treadmill, I can't get myself to do it.
And you're more outdoorsy then. You don't want to be indoors as well.
Yeah, no, I love outdoors.
Last two things. I have a hard time.
Dealing with bullshit.
Is that on a work level?
I think there is a lot of noise on Twitter and LinkedIn, uh, clickbait, stupid ideas that are being promoted like it's massive insights and wisdoms, and I have a really
Yeah,
hard
I
time with it.
agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're acting as though they've invented the wheel, right? And it is
Yeah, but
bullshit.
I wonder if there's a better way than saying dealing with bullshit. Maybe dealing with group. I don't want to sound too cerebral, but I could say dealing with groupthink.
There's also such a focus now on exhibiting yourself, right? And trying to portray yourself as the one and only one with the knowledge, with the know-how. And there's that side of life today that is very I find very, very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and you know that people are seeing through it. You know that everybody sees through it.
Absolutely.
I think it reminds me. I heard the other day, LinkedIn is Instagram for adults.
I am really turned off LinkedIn. I find that it's just such self-publicity, and it really is beginning to really bother me.
But there's something about what you said. It's not about bullshit. It's about almost fake AI enabled self promotion on social media.
Yeah. Last point. I get joy from.
Seeing founders grow.
Very nice. So last time when you and I chatted, I think we ended our conversation by you talking to me about Burning Man. And it was a
Ooh.
big thing in your life then. Is that still even happening now?
It is. We're going in August. I don't know if it's a
Oh,
big
you're
thing in
still
my.
into it.
I don't know if it's a big thing in my life. It's just a fun event. I wonder if I've gotten. It's funny because I don't talk about it as much. Not because we go less, but maybe because we're more established as a firm, and now I'm becoming one of those conservative. Don't talk about personal stuff and. Burning
Don't
Man's
be that guy.
Burning
Don't
Man
be
is
that guy.
Burning Man is incredible. It's a very unique experience for you to leave your identity outside, go be surrounded
Yeah,
by art, find what you're passionate about, whether it's art, music. It's a very harsh environment, particularly hard for Egyptians because we know what a desert is, and for us, it's not exotic. For everybody else, it's like, oh
absolutely.
my God, it's like a desert. I'm like, I know exactly
Yeah,
what it is, and
yeah,
we spend our entire life
yeah,
trying to avoid it. And so
yeah.
but it's
I've outgrown places that don't have state-of-the-art designer bathrooms. I don't do camping. I don't do any of this stuff. I'm just like, no. Show me a place with a nice bathroom and I'm all yours. But thanks for joining me today. I'm Malak Fuad, and this episode was produced by Chirag Desai. I'll be back again soon with a new guest. I hope you can join me then.